Hello and welcome back to the Healing Mama podcast. I'm your host, Danny Bonsignor, a fellow mom just like you, certified in positive discipline and passionate about helping you thrive with tools that are rooted in love and faith. Join me for some encouraging conversation surrounding parenting with grace, guidance, and the love of God. I'm so glad you're here. Hello. I am just so glad you are here today, and I thank you for tuning in. And I'm especially glad for today's conversation because it's just something that is so important. Today, we are going to focus on our perspective in motherhood and how something that seems so simple can actually be super challenging and also have a huge impact on your day. Motherhood is full of highs and lows, beautiful moments, yes, hard moments, yes, but how we see those moments makes all the difference, and how we choose to see our children makes all of the difference. Every single one of us was someone before we were a mom. And we all enter motherhood with a story. You bring your childhood memories, your wounds, your joys, your beliefs about what a mom should be. And here's the thing, those experiences are not right or wrong, but they do shape your perspective. And sometimes we don't even realize what that is. Maybe you had a parent who yelled a lot, so you promised yourself you'd never raise your voice, or you find yourself raising your voice at every stressful moment. Maybe you had a parent who never said sorry or discussed poor moments, so now you find yourself holding grudges against your toddler, or maybe you just avoid upsetting your child altogether, so you never feel like you need to say sorry. Your experiences matter, and they often show up in the heat of the moment, especially when you are tired, overwhelmed, or you feel like you are being triggered. So, what do you do when your default reaction doesn't match the kind of mom you want to be? That's where perspective comes in. God invites us to renew our minds, to take every thought captive, to see things not just through the lens of our past, but through the lens of His truth. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The word renewing, it's ongoing. It's daily. It's moment by moment. You get to ask yourself, is this how I want to respond? Is this how God responds to me? And what's another way I can see this moment? I recently had an opportunity in my personal life to practice a new perspective shift when I found myself in a reoccurring situation, one I've been in over and over. And I was going to make it right on time to an appointment. And I feel like depending on who you are, just needing to get somewhere on time can either be a stressful operation for your family or a not stressful operation for your family. I am working on being on time, but I also don't let it be a stressful operation. I was so proud of the fact that up until the moment that we left the house, I just had been repeating that we always get to where we need to be in perfect timing. So when I went to get in the car and I realized that it was pouring outside, that our car seat was actually in my husband's car and he was like 24 minutes away from our house, that could have put me in a really stressful state. And I could have reacted very poorly to my 4-year-old for being a 4-year-old, to my baby for being a baby. I was completely aware of my old perspective and how I could practice growth in that moment. And I just want to say I'm so grateful to God's wisdom and His guidance and for allowing me to see this moment so clearly, because my old perspective, could have been that, oh, my baby is just crying and she's being difficult. And this is obviously adding to the chaos. My 4-year-old is purposely trying to be difficult by not getting in her car seat and buckling her straps as I asked. My husband doesn't care about what I have to do. And he didn't care enough to double check and make sure he didn't have the car seat in the back. But that was old news, right? My new perspective today, because of God's grace, was that babies cry because that's how they communicate. My 4-year-old is a very helpful, sweet girl, and she loves to help me in any way she can. So she's never trying to make my life more difficult on purpose. And my husband loves me, and he would never purposely try and make my day harder. So, with those in mind, I was able to just take a deep breath, and I just kept repeating to myself that all is well. All is well. All is well. Sometimes I think that our perspectives are just old ways of thinking, and they might not even have been things that we chose to think, but ways we learned by the adults around us. So when you are stressed as a parent, you will default back into what you know and believe to be true, even if it isn't true or doesn't make any sense. Your toddler is not making a mess to upset you. They aren't whining to frustrate you. They aren't constantly trying to get your attention to annoy you. The perspective shift that is important to make when it comes to your child is to view them as that, a child who is growing and learning, not a problem maker. This doesn't mean we ignore misbehavior or that we don't communicate with our spouses, but we shift how we view it. We move from reacting to responding, from fear to faith, from control to connection. You have to separate what you believe to be true to what is actually true. And when you view your child as a capable learner, this encourages patience and trust in them. When you view their behavior as a sign of fulfilling a need, it redirects your focus from punishment to empathy. When you choose to be kind and firm, you are able to maintain connection while holding clear expectations. And when you choose to prioritize connection before correction, this promotes long-term cooperation and not just short-term compliance. When your perspective is how can I teach, not punish, you start to focus on helping them learn life skills and inner motivation, or their desire to do the right thing because it's the right thing, over fear-based compliance. So, I want to challenge you this week. If you have a child aged 3 to 5, to change your perspective on misbehavior. And instead of viewing it as something that needs reprimanding, you used it as a teaching moment and to invite problem solving and guide natural consequences that help build accountability and empathy. And for 1-year-olds up to 3, redirection and distraction are your best friends. And your child is not trying to be anything other than a child who is exploring and learning about their world for the first time. See them through this lens and not one of them trying to be bad or defiant. I want to take a moment and say this. The way you see yourself matters too. And sometimes as a mom, you can see yourself as not enough or too much or constantly behind. But how does God see you? He sees you chosen, equipped, and loved, Colossians 3:12. Called to this work, Proverbs 31:25. Full of his spirit and able to do hard things with his help, 2 Timothy 1:7. When we align our perspective with God's truth, everything shifts. The chaos doesn't disappear, but the clarity comes. So when you feel overwhelmed or discouraged this week, I invite you to pause and ask, what's another way I can see this moment? What is my child or my spouse really needing right now? What might God be doing in me through this moment? And if your perspective needs a reset, you're not alone. I'm right there with you. But you owe it to yourself and to your family to view things through a more positive lens, through a lens of understanding. You just have to keep showing up and trying again for your family and for yourself. And God will meet you in that shift. He already sees you through the lens of love. I thank you for spending time with me today. And if this episode encouraged you, would you take a moment to leave a review, share it with a friend who needs a fresh perspective? And don't forget to check out the show notes because I'm going to leave some of my key notes from this episode. And yes, just have a wonderful week. May you be the calm May you be the peace for your family this week. Until next time, remember, you are the exact mom your child needs. Keep leaning in, keep growing, and let God be with you. Let Him help you through this. Until next time, have a wonderful week.